All right, well, I'm making this video today because I have to apologize. We made a mistake. So really, I made a mistake. Let me explain. So when I created the EvolveAI system, I thought that the powerlifting program that I was creating was going to be fairly moderate intensity, moderate volume, pretty much a middle of the road that would work well for most people. But after my T joined and I learned more about the stress index and applied that knowledge and that to the database I was using, I realized I had created a low intensity, high volume training program. And a lot of you users out there had reported that as well, and we heard you. So my T and I set to work a few months ago, and we pulled all of the data from the system in and applied the stress index so that we could figure out how to make moderate and high intensity options and how much to lower the volume to decrease the number of sets, since we were increasing the intensity of the training that you would be doing. And we have finally gotten that done. And I'm very excited to see how you all like it and the changes in training overall. Let me explain a little more on the whiteboard of exactly what's going on with this change. So here's what I mean. Imagine that, you're on low intensity and you're using somewhere around 65% for all of your sets for the week. Let's say you're doing that for 20 sets. Well, you can't just increase the intensity and say, well, I want to go from a low intensity, to a high intensity, and now I'm going to be using 80% for my sets. First off, you're going to have an issue with your reps. You just aren't going to be able to do the same number of reps. So you need to have an appropriate increase in scaling for your intensity. So let's say you moved up to 70%, but you can't do 20 sets still. It's not the same stress. If you're doing 20 sets with 65%, you're going to have to decrease your sets in some way, shape, or form to accomplish this. So probably, with this 5% difference, probably you're going to go down to something like 16 sets. But when you have to do that for an entire database and all the training that we had, it was quite an ask. We ended up going from about 350,000 lines of code governing what workouts were possible to somewhere around 1.2 million. So it took a little bit of time to triple the database so that we could accomplish this feature. Now, this is a little bit more detailed example of a snapshot of if you're an existing user, you've been using low intensity, the system has dialed in, your MEV and MRV to know that you're going to be somewhere around 19 sets for what you do at 70%. This is what you're going to see in your training if you alter your intensity option. So if you move from low to moderate, obviously your sets are going to come down, your relative intensity is going to increase. But you can also just jump all the way over to high and really bump up the intensity, and the sets are going to go lower. The great thing about this is if you're pressed for time, obviously it's going to take less time to do 13 sets spread throughout your week for your bench press or your squat or your deadlift than it is to do 19 sets, because you just have to have rest periods between those. Even if most of these, if this is a sub 6 and this is going towards RP 8, it's heavier sets, it's still going to take a lot less time to do that high intensity. So that's a great option if you're pressed for time. The great thing about what Mike and I did is the stress is equated through all of these. And so the volume that the system has been learning about you and how much overall, stress you can digest as an athlete and still adapt, that's baked into all of these options because it's equated. And that's the genius of this new system of having high, moderate, and low intensity when it's equated across the stress index as the driver for how the changes are made. So we're very excited about this new feature. We hope you'll be as excited as we are, and check it out.